work session.
No.
And, no?
Special counsel.
Oh, special council meeting? No wonder I'm confused.
Yes.
Right? Okay, thank you for correcting me. Yes, special council meeting. And, oh, we need to do the roll call.
Thompson?
Yes.
Esty?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Okay, we have a quorum of 4, and here comes Miss Kness.
Ran out parking spots out front.
Yeah, I've been many.
So tonight's meeting is regarding having a public hearing on the proposed property tax levy for fiscal year '27. And
That's all we have to do tonight is just have a public hearing.
public hearing, all righty. First off, I'm just gonna mention the current levy rate is 17.65006. And the 26-27 proposed property tax levy is $16.68911. So we are going down almost $1 per thousand. And Mr. Toohill, our illustrious chair of Ways and Means, is here. And do you want to hit any highlights, and then I'll open the public hearing?
No, I mean, other than the fact that we did everything and still presented a balanced budget is a pretty strong point, and that we were able to lower the levy is also, so, but
Yeah.
go ahead and I'm sure we can jump in if there's anything that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about also any local option sales tax grants that we're giving? I think these are kind of nice to talk about.
I guess we can present that now, can't we? I didn't bring my copy with me. Thank you.
Sorry. As long as he gives it
So-
back to me.
I will do that.
So every year
I-
we do have people who request grants from local option sales tax. And Ways and Means goes through them and grants what they can.
I'm going to ask for a little help too, because I don't have my notes with me, so I can't remember what all these grants are for exactly. But we do have some grants that we do religiously that help fund some of the accounts and stuff. We do put money set aside each year to purchase one new police car each year to rotate the stock. We also put money into a fund for the eventual purchase of a new fire truck, which right now we're looking at 1.5 or 1.6 million, I think will be our next fire truck. So the money we put aside just kind of puts a dent in it, but it does help out when we get that. We put 100,000 a year into that fund. There were a few structural equipment things that we granted money to. There was a $64,000 for park and rec for rec equipment, shade structures. There was a $12,000 grant for a new teeth and a sump pump grinder. $50,000 for Fairfield Arts and Convention Center infrastructure. $45,000 for an HVAC system in Carnegie Museum. The fire truck we spoke about. $46,590 went into property tax relief. $1,500 into City Hall. $7,500 goes into our annual fireworks display that we do each year. $15,000 goes into our Main Street Fairfield Association uptown. $26,000 goes into Grow Fairfield Economic Development, formerly FEDA, and that's annual membership and dues. And $11,500 it was a grant to the Beautification Commission, for their work on the flowers and everything up in the square each year. Now, as far as what we can do, that's optional or for grants that to better things here in town. We can kind of breeze through those really quick. There was a $2,750 grant to Carnegie Museum Foundation. And that was for, do you remember exactly? Specifically? That was
Yeah,
also for
HVAC,
HVAC,
yeah.
in addition to the one up top? Because we did do the,
Was it not preliminary, architectural?
it was design and something. Yes,
A little bit, yeah.
Planning and coordination of future renovations.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
20
And that was a portion of what that will come to, but we did award that.
2750.
Whoops, I'm sorry.
2750 is what you said.
2,750, yes.
Right.
Yep. 2,500 to CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau. $10,000 to Fairfield Productions that does the film series every year. We have done that pretty consistently now for a while, which is if you have not seen them, they are fantastic. $2,000 to the Fairfield Chamber of Commerce. $16,285 for the First Fridays Art Walk, which will partially fund some of the events and stuff that they do for that. $6,640 for Fran. Refresh me on that one too. I don't remember.
Fairfield Resilient Action Network.
They were going to do a community,
Yeah, it's now a 501(c)(3)
C. That's right.
organization.
Yep. Yep.
I think it has to do something to do with block parties of some type.
So.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep. Yep. So a community betterment, a togetherness type project that they're working on. 2,000 to Fairfield Live on the Square. There's a $5,000 grant to the Madsen Barnes Preservation Committee, which funds will partially fund one of the big events that they hold each year that brings quite a few people to town is a big deal here in Fairfield. 10,000 to Main Street Fairfield.
These are matching funds.
And that was matching funds. That's right, for the grant for
Building facades.
infrastructure or facades
yeah,
uptown
yeah.
on the square. And then an $8,500 grant to Noah's Ark Foundation, which we have done previously. So since I've been on council. So and that's it for the optional ones or the other ones. That leaves us with a little, well, actually very little money left in the account. But there is also, I have a note on here too, that there's also a $10,000 grant to Habitat for Humanity, but that's actually budgeted out of a different account and not out of the local option sales tax. So those are all things that we do out of the extra money that we receive from that. And if there's any questions on any of it or anything,
Yeah. Habitat's coming out of low to moderate income funds?
yes, load of
Great.
LMI funding. Yep.
Great. So, oh, yeah. So with that, I'll open the public hearing, and let's see if we have anybody from the public that wants to ask any questions or comment. We don't have very many people in the audience, and so don't you want to ask a question? Make something up?
Pertinent to the,
Do you want to come up to the microphone so they can hear you at home? And if you wouldn't mind stating your name and what ward you live in?
yeah, I'm just curious, pertinent to the matter that was just discussed, or just any walk-on items?
It's related to this.
No. Then no, I do not.
Okay.
Just try to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, well, I guess with that, I'll close the public hearing. And comments from any council members?
So, sorry, I think his question was, is it about the local option sales tax or just about the public hearing for the proposed levy rate? Am I right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it was, I didn't know if any, like, potential walk-on items for other.
For other
concerns aren't
business.
Related to.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay,
particular
sorry.
forum
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
presented.
Why don't I, after this meeting, which we usually leave a few minutes, then I can talk to you, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so any comments from council members? Any questions or comments?
I do want to mention, again, I'd like to thank Melanie, Rebecca, and Doug for all the work they put into this ahead of time. It is a thankless job, but they have done a lot of work to get it to the point where it's at right now.
There was a lot of hair pulling, which is why Doug.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of hours go into it before it gets to Ways and Means.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
so I think it did make your job a little bit easier this
It
year.
made it much easier.
Yeah, so. Okay, I guess with that, we can adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Kness,
Second?
second by Ferguson. To all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, meeting adjourned. So we have about 15 minutes until the regular council meeting, so we'll take a break. Gonna call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Rowe,
Here.
Thompson,
Here.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Ferguson.
Yes.
Alrighty. First up is the consent agenda, but does anybody have any changes to the agenda? Anything? Hearing none, let's move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the March 9th, 2026 council meeting. Approval of the March 13th, 2026 payroll in the amount of $191,162.32. Acceptance of public art committee minutes and notes from June 24th, 2025, July 22nd, 2025, February 17th, 2026. And they had looked at creative highlights, art, rubric, and art app. Acceptance of the library board minutes. Acceptance of volunteer center committee minutes. Resolution of employment in the Park and Recreation Department. Approval of liquor license for Quality Quick Stop. Approval of total claims in the amount of $691,813.88. We had 4 claims above $75,000. Christner Contracting, which is the fire station, for $245,248. EBS, which is our insurance premiums, $81,726.10. Waste Management, Corporate Services, $82,181.76. And Phi Excavating, $85,828.55. That's for Sunrise Trail.
Move to approve consent agenda?
Moved by Gandy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Toohill. Any discussion?
I did review claims and they all seemed in order.
Okay, great. Any other comments, questions? If not, please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes, although I'll abstain from the approval of the minutes of the March 9th meeting.
Ferguson.
Yes.
Thank you. That was consent agenda approved unanimously. We will move on to public forum and appearances, and our first public appearances is a winner. If I were a mayor. So, but we do have a representative from the League of Cities, and so you want to just talk a minute and then we'll present this.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jordan Higgins from the Iowa League of Cities. I'm here to present the If I Were a Mayor Award. The If I Were a Mayor contest is a statewide competition for 7th graders which asks them what they would do if they were elected mayor of their hometown. We know that our future leaders are in the classrooms today. Promoting good city government and further connecting our youth to our communities is important to the Iowa League of Cities. The league has run this contest for 10 years, and each year we are impressed by the forethought, compassion, and ingenuity of the Iowa students. This year we received more than 350 submissions from all across the state. With the help of the Iowa Mayors Association, one essay was selected from each congressional district, with a grand prize winner selected from these 4. And through the generous sponsorship by Snyder and Associates, we offer each winner a $250 scholarship, with the grand prize winner receiving a $500 scholarship. This year, our District 1 winner is William Bauer. His essay emphasized revitalizing the town square and making Fairfield more accessible for those with mobility needs. A deserving essay that impressed our review panel of Iowa mayors. With that, I turn it over to Mayor Boyer to present the award.
Great, thank you. All right, you want to come up? That right there. So how about why don't you stand in the middle, and we're going to present this to you, and Melanie's going to take a picture of us. Whoops. All right. So this is your plaque. Do you go by William?
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, that's yours. Why don't you turn around so public can see you? Would you like to read your essay?
No.
He's already a mayor.
So this is Lindsay Bauer. She's my mom. She's the executive director at the Fairfield Arts and
Yeah, start over. Sorry.
This is Lindsay Bauer. She's my mom. She's the executive director at the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center. And this is Cody Bauer. He's my dad, and he works at Midwest One Bank.
Well, we know you have good parents, and I think that's a testament also to this young son of yours, and we're just so proud of you. This is, I don't know if you know, but this is the third winner that I know about in Fairfield in the last several years. So that's really exciting. And last fall, I got to spend the whole day with these classes, and it's just so fun to be in the class all day with them, and they ask really tough questions, I have to say. They're thoughtful and curious. So that's great. Do you want to say anything else about how you wrote your essay? How did you come across this topic?
I don't really know how specifically I came across it. I just kind of thought about things that personally I thought needed to be improved in our town, or things that affected the general public in our town, and just wrote down my ideas.
Great. That's awesome. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read it real quick. Okay? And I think he's right on point, and partly you'll know with Main Street and all that kind of thing that he's right on point, and hopefully we're going to improve. Imagine this. You go to visit your family in Fairfield, Iowa. You want to do some shopping downtown, so you make your way over to the square. On your trek, you run into uncut curbs and uneven sidewalks, making it hard to navigate in your wheelchair. Unfortunately, this is a reality here in Fairfield. If I were mayor, I would focus on revitalizing our square and making our town easier to navigate. I would do this by providing a money incentive for small businesses to set up shop around our city, repairing and repainting the gazebo, and making sure everyone can walk around our town. First of all, Fairfield shopping facilities are very lackluster. If we look at another small college town like Orange City, you can find small shops lining the square. Having more stores would improve the look of downtown and bring in more tax dollars for Fairfield. If I were a mayor, I would propose a money incentive for small businesses to set up shop around our city. The second thing I would do as mayor would be to improve our city square. As it stands, our city center is a bland square of grass and sidewalk with a single gazebo marking the center. As mayor, I would introduce a full makeover. I would dot the grass with more flowers, shrubs, and trees. I would also repair, repaint, and make the gazebo ADA accessible, making it look as good as it did 40 years ago. In Fairfield, there are many walkways and intersections that are not pedestrian friendly. Lots of sidewalks are in disrepair, and in some places you can't even see into the road. In multiple spots, there are uncut curbs, making it difficult for people in wheelchairs to navigate our city. We can make our town more walkable by widening and repairing our sidewalks, improving visibility, and making more areas ADA compliant. As for positive outcome, improving Fairfield's pedestrian friendliness would bring more customers to businesses, make our town safer, and connect more people. Incentivizing small businesses, improving the aesthetics of downtown, and making everywhere more walkable will make Fairfield more welcoming and encourage connection. It will also make our community a happier place for everyone. Out of the mouths of babes. Thank you. And we should also say, before Tina leaves the room, that she's the great teacher that, invites me to come to class, and she works with all these kids. She's an amazing teacher. All righty, that was fun. Okay. Next is Sarah Berndt, Iowa Primary Care Association. Is she here? System Navigation Services. Anybody know about this?
It was emailed to me. I don't know.
Right. I guess you can read it, and if you have questions, you can reach out to her. Chris Sorflaten, proposed public restroom site, rain garden.
Hello. So, I heard through the grapevine you guys were talking about tearing down the public bathrooms, and I was like, hey, why don't we turn it into a rain garden? So that would just be like just a gentle slope, maybe 1 or 2 foot deep in the center. And I just installed a rain garden at my house, and it turned out great. And it dries out between rains. So there's not going to be standing water there. There's not going to be any mosquito habitat, but it will be wet enough to grow cool wetland plants and promote water awareness. And even though it's not going to refill the aquifer, it will symbolically recharge the aquifer. So I figure that will help people to be more mindful about the water. And has anyone seen all the water features in Ottumwa downtown? There's like probably 20 or so different little pits downtown, and they're kind of a tripping hazard and not very scenic. So I thought that this one would be bigger than all theirs put together and be more scenic and not a tripping hazard. And you could route like water from the curb could go in it, or water from like the neighboring buildings could be routed into it. And super cheap to build. You're going to be excavating it anyway, so there's going to be a pit anyway, and all you need is seeds, which are cheap. And I'd be happy to help volunteer to do that. And oh, it's a great idea for other sites too. Like I don't know what the plan is for the old police station, but I had an idea for there too, for a bigger, even bigger rain garden. And yep.
Well, rain gardens are certainly nice
Yeah.
to catch water off of parking lots, no
Yeah.
doubt. I think there's some, different ideas floating around
Yep.
for that area, so that's another idea that can be thrown into the mix. Appreciate you bringing it, because that wasn't discussed earlier, so it's
Great.
another option. Thank you. Appreciate that, Chris.
All right, Chris. Thank you.
Maybe it's the beautification commission has heard this and they reach out to Chris, or Chris can reach out to them.
Beautification and Main Street and Park and Rec, they're the ones kind of discussing that area.
Okay.
Okay, so next up is MIU, request to waive late fees. Do we have? Okay, great. Do you want to come up? And tell us your name.
Yes, I'm Tania from Mulch International University. My name is Tania. So I am here from Mulch International University. I work there as a accountant manager. So I am here regarding our late fees for January. So it was a unintentional late. So our bill was submitted like later than the expected date, which caused us like $2,000 extra late fees. So which is like a burden, financial burden for our institute now. So as a university, now we are like having hard days, having students. So I apologize for that delay, and I will I would like to request you to waive that bill as one-time courtesy.
Has this been looked at by
So we never
Water and Sewer?
failed to pay our bills on time. It was just one-time internal timing issues, and it was unintentional.
Council, do you want to make a decision on this tonight? Do you want to talk about it more in committee?
How much in late fees are you talking about?
It's almost more than $2,000.
$2,469.71.
I think it ought to be referred to water and sewer review.
Yeah, I
Like some
agree.
input,
We could.
some context perhaps.
Mr. Rowe, were you going to say something else?
Well, my first thought is that it's very rare that we would, I mean, for all the time I've been on the Water and Sewer Committee, I don't think any fees have been waived under these sorts of circumstances. But if that's what the council wants, then Water and Sewer, I'm sure, could review it.
Well, water and sewer is present here tonight. I mean, maybe if you want to make a recommendation, you can. But I'm just thinking there may be some further context, maybe not.
Is there any further context? It sounds like the main thing is that the university was not able to pay. They didn't have the resources to cover the payment.
At some point, it was like a budget issue. We didn't have enough money to pay, and then other problem is internal timing issue. We were holding that payment because of some kind of lack of money. And we never fail to pay our bills on time. It's the first time, I think, we didn't.
Have we waived these fees before? No?
No, I mean, it's set by ordinance, council would have to approve it, but.
Okay. If you waive it for one person, how do you not waive it for everyone?
That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Water and Sewer Committee is made up of Thompson, Rowe, and Ferguson. Is there any willingness to take this to committee from your any of you on that committee, or do you feel like the statement of if you waive one for one person, you're setting a precedent? So, do you feel like you need to talk about it anymore?
I personally think I know the direction I would lean if we did take this to the Water and Sewer Committee, but it's ultimately the council's decision.
Yeah, I'd have to say that if you waive it for one, what is the reason for not waiving it for others? I think that's I fully appreciate, the position the university's in, but I would say that it would be very difficult to make a determination or to make a coherent policy of waiving fees if you're doing it just on the basis of no particular, other than, budget issues and internal issues. So that would be my position on it. I'd agree with Mr. Rowe.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that's your answer. And although it's sort of painful, I think, to also say that, I mean, it's a large amount, I get it.
Yeah,
But,
but I'm proposing it for like one-time courtesy.
So, but everyone else is in that boat too. And sometimes they have budget issues and those late fees aren't waived, late fees are not waived.
I've sat on the Water and Sewer Committee for several years now, and we have only ever waived any sort of fees or made allowances for any sort of fees when the city was in some way directly responsible for what happened. And it sounds like if you're having budgeting issues at the university, as much as I'm sorry to hear about that, it just is not likely to make any traction.
Yeah, I understand, but the hard days now for this university, and $2,000 is a huge burden for us, So that's why I'm here. Normally we pay small late fees. We never come for waiving that fees. But
Let me put this another way. It's a huge burden for the university. It's also a huge burden for the taxpayers. And ultimately, someone has to foot the bill. So if it's not the university, then it's everyone else in town.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Thank you, Council. Next up is Kent Rice with Rotary and Rotary Spring Festival.
Is there a decision made?
None, so. no.
My name is Kent Rice and Beth Alonzo, and we're here for Rotary. You should have a packet of information in your packet, I believe. And the first thing is the request to appear here. So thank you for allowing us to do that. And what we're doing is planning a spring festival. It was in the newspaper back in February, so maybe you've seen it there, but unfortunately a lot of people don't even get that newspaper. The purpose of the festival is a fundraising event And the money that's raised there is going to Park and Rec. And we've talked with Calvin, and Calvin wants to use that money to build playgrounds. And the playgrounds is a focus on very young children from 2 to 5 year olds. First playground would be at O.B. Nelson, and the second playground would be at Chautauqua Park. This event will not raise enough money for both of those playgrounds, probably not even one of the playgrounds, so it's a starter event. And this is intended to be the first of an annual event. The Kiwanis do a great event in the fall, and this we're thinking would be sort of an annual spring event. So in your packet is that first page, and then the second page then is a map then that shows pretty well what we're trying to do there. So it's a kids event with lots of events, a lot of activities on the square, lots of games, beanbag toss, bingo, basketball hoops, lots of games on the event, on the square. Also selling corn dogs, walking tacos, funnel cakes, popcorn, cotton candy, those kind of things. Bingo, maybe I already said that. One thing then is to have the train from the Community First Bank out on Broadway Street. So then that's a little concern, is that street would be closed, the east-west street on the north side of the square. So then the third sheet there shows that we already have the permit that Calvin from Park and Rec has signed to use the square. So that's what that sheet shows. If you're keeping up, if I'm in agreement with you there. Then the next sheet shows the closing of Broadway Avenue. And it does show that the ends, so it'd be one lane of Court Street and one lane of Main Street, just off the ends of it. So a little bit of that would get closed. There'd still be 2 lanes that are open. Is that clear, what I'm saying there?
Yep.
Okay. So we would need approval to do that, and we have talked to each of the shop owners along that street, so they're all good with that. One person did, the computer shop, repair shop did bring up, he says, there's people that live upstairs, so there's a little concern there about, especially if there's an emergency, that an ambulance would be able to get in, so he was real good to bring that to our attention. At the ends of the street, all there is a wooden barrier with the horses that holds that up. So it's real easy for an ambulance to get in. So I think that's easy to take care of. So not real concerned about that then. I mean, I'm concerned about it, but it's easy to handle, to deal with. The next page then there is explains that traffic control and the things that we would need. I have spoken with Joe so that he can provide those items for us. The form there has the fee that it would take. We would request that you would waive that fee, since that would just come out of the profit, which goes, it just takes back away from you, from your playground. So I would hope that you would waive that. But if you don't, I mean, either way, it's not much. It's $130, so it doesn't amount to much either way. So however you want to deal with that. And then the last page on that is the noise exemption form, where we will have a speaker on the stage there, and a little bit of music. I mean, we don't really expect to exceed the noise, but if we had the exemption, if someone does call it, then the police would know that we would have the exemption for that.
Great.
So Dawn suggested that we do request that exemption.
And I want to mention the dunk tank.
The dunk tank.
The dunk tank.
Yeah, we're showing.
And I'm sitting in it, and I'll take any volunteers of council members that want to participate.
I think I got that all in 5 minutes. Okay.
Good job.
Okay, council, so,
Did I see a date of
May 2nd.
May 2nd, and then you
Yes,
have an
that's a Saturday.
optional rain date also, did I see?
We don't have a rain date,
don't have
and we
a rain
don't
date,
plan on
okay.
using a rain date.
Okay.
We do have tents over everything.
Oh, great.
There's big
Okay.
tents, bigger tents for the food and for the bingo. and then little pop-up tents for all the games. And then if it's a bigger rainy date, then, I mean, a heavy rain, then we plan on moving the event somewhere, but we don't yet know where the somewhere
Sure.
is. So we're still planning things.
Great.
Are the big tents on the cement?
They are in the grass. So we have talked with Pam and arranged for that.
Okay.
Yep.
The stakes, so we don't hit the water lines and all that.
Right, right.
Good.
I'm looking at the diagram too. The barricades do not extend into Main Street. Right? Main Street is fully accessible, fully open.
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Correct.
Oh, he's
There would be a little bit there.
Is that an issue at all being a state? No. Okay.
No, not Main and Broadway.
Because it turns to Second.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, the turning lane would be.
Yep.
Yeah, that turning lane, right.
I gotcha.
Because we don't want them turning into that. Yeah.
Sure.
So I think there's two things, council, to approve the street closure, and there was also a request to,
Waive the
Waive
fee
the
for the
fees.
traffic.
And noise exemption.
Do you need two
and
separate
the noise
motions?
exemption.
You need 3 separate motions?
I think you can do it all.
Yeah, we can do it all in one.
I'd move to approve the street closure, the noise exemption, and the waiving of the fee because it's a city-funded project.
Okay, so there is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hill. Further discussion? Hearing none. Go ahead and call the roll.
Kness?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Esty?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously. I
Okay.
hope you have a really good event, and I hope it's warm.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
right?
You need to
I
pass
do.
that motion as well, yeah.
Warm weather, because I don't want to freeze,
You've got the power. Thank you.
right? Okay.
The fire department has ice rescue gear.
It's good to know.
Might need that. All righty. Let's move on to resolution action items and ordinances. So the first resolution, consideration to fix a date for authorization of a loan agreement and the issuance of not to exceed $4.7 million in general obligation capital loan notes of the city of Fairfield, state of Iowa, for essential corporate purposes and providing for publication of notice thereof for Monday, April 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m.
Sure.
Do you want to just highlight what this is?
So in our fiscal year 27 budget, we are levying ahead on paying extra on our 2015 note. In the CIP, you will see in 2020, in fiscal year 28, we are intending on bonding for a fire truck. And we would refinance the 2015 along with it, but we're going to pay ahead as we can. So this is really planning ahead, but we have to do this so that we can levy ahead to pay that extra on the 2015 in fiscal year 27 budget.
And we need a down payment on the fire truck also, right?
Yeah,
That's
which we should have, but
Yeah.
yeah, with what we're gathering now.
Amazon does not deliver fire trucks.
It does not. We have to bond at least probably a year in advance because it takes that long to order the truck and get it in. The not to exceed is really just covering everything because it's not to exceed. So hopefully we aren't borrowing that much, but it's not to exceed.
Okay. So again, this is to the authorization of loan agreement. And we'll be discussing this again on April 13th. So there's our motion to approve.
So moved?
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Kness. Any further discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy?
Yes.
Kness?
Yes.
Esty?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you. That was approved unanimously. Next action item, consideration to set public hearing for the fiscal year 27 budget, again for Monday, April 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to set the public hearing for the fiscal year 27 budget to that date.
Okay, moved by Esty,
Second.
second by Ferguson. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Esty?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Thank you. That was approved unanimously to set the public hearing for the fiscal year 27 budget. We'll just make a side note that we do plan to have a meeting later to present the budget to the public in more detail. What's the date on that? April something?
23rd.
Oh, 23rd?
April what?
I thought it was
23rd?
April 23rd.
Stand by. April 23rd, 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Okay, great, thanks. Next action item, consideration to set public hearing for fiscal year 27 capital improvement plan for Monday, April 13th, 2026.
Move to approve.
Moved by Kness,
Second.
second by Toohill. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a couple of questions just based on our Ways and Means Committee meetings. I'm just trying to understand a couple of changes that I see in the CIP that's part of the action item, that's part of the packet. I'm looking at the Maine and Burlington traffic light and pedestrian improvements. I think in the document that we looked at the Ways and Means Committee meetings, the lost contribution, we were anticipating at $700,000 for fiscal year 26-27, and in this current edition of the CIP, it's $500,000. I'm thinking that's because of some particular grant we're going to receive or have received. Is that correct, Melanie?
Yes, so what was presented to you initially assumed that we did not get the $200,000 U-step funds. And Rebecca and I went back and forth on how to present it because it could be presented either way. If that 700,000 was in there, then there's a even larger negative number in the street lost. So instead, I handled it through a note saying that if the U-step is not awarded, then the recommendation would be to use fund balance. And so I think that even though an assumption is being made that U-step is awarded, we would have to discuss it at the time that there's a decision made on the U-step.
And just to clarify for the public, there is a grant that has been awarded in this direction. That's a TSIP, if I understand it, TSIP
Yes.
grant, right?
Yep, for $212,000, and then the application for the U-step is specific to the traffic lights, and that was sent in a little over a month ago. But the DOT is considering it. I've received a couple calls on it, so I'm hopeful.
The other question I had to do with I'm looking at the documents we looked at Ways and Means and what we have today and the action item.
Mm-hmm.
There's an addition for a brush truck. There was an aerial truck included in the fiscal 27-28 budget. The budget at that time was, as I understand it, 1.8 million. And then we're adding a brush truck at 250,000.
Mm-hmm.
So as I understand it, the debt is going up from 1.2 million to 1.9 million for the fiscal year 27-28. Now, I understand these are, I believe this is a fluid document. It's a fluid document, but that's been an addition.
Yep,
Right.
and the brush truck came from a discussion that was after the Ways and Means meeting. It's grass fire season, and the fire department brought up the concern that the aerial truck is what helps keep our insurance rating low, having that ability to handle different structure fires, which is, I guess, the reason why we would recommend continuing or going ahead and purchasing that. But the brush truck, the request from the fire department was it's what gets used the most. It doesn't get to stay on the city streets, and not that fires are ever nice, but it doesn't get to stay in the nicest conditions. It's going off-road, it's going to field fires. It's getting a lot more wear and tear than any of the other vehicles. And we do not have a final answer, I believe, from the bonding company, but our discussion was, internally, our discussion is, well, if we're borrowing for the aerial truck, borrowing for an additional $250,000 for a brush truck is not a huge change in the levy. In fact, might not even see it if we have a longer term borrow. We don't have that answer yet, which I guess is why it's just a recommendation at this point. And we would have to discuss that with public safety once we have better answers from the bonding agent from Piper Jaffray. So they're working on that recommendation for us before we can really present a final one. But again, the brush truck really came up after Ways and Means even met.
All right, thank you.
I think good
It's
questions.
clear. So,
Good questions. You know, want to let the public know that the capital improvements plan, this whole document is attached, so they can review it. Right there, there is a link.
I mean, yeah, I understand that it's a fluid document, especially you're talking about fiscal year 27, 28, so things can and will change, but it's good to know these things. Thanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so is there a motion to set the public hearing for? Oh, we already have a motion. Sorry, yeah, we were on questions, weren't we?
Yep.
Any other questions? Thanks for keeping me online tonight.
Good. You're good.
Okay, well,
long
hearing
day.
none, I can call the roll.
Kness.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Thompson. Yes. Gandy.
Yes.
Ferguson.
Yes.
Esty.
Yes.
Rowe.
Okay, the next action item is consideration to direct staff to initiate the process to demolish the public restrooms. You want to talk about this, Doug?
Yeah, as controversial as, pardon me, as the public restrooms can be or are, the restrooms have been closed since I've been here, so I'm on year 3.
Not longer than that.
And I've actually taken a tour of those, and so having lots and lots of discussions, and I will never forget, it was probably the first month that I was here. The DNR actually called me and asked me if I was tearing down those buildings, and I said I didn't know anything about it, but we had done some asbestos testing before I got here, so it all kind of circled through. And the conversation has always been that do we remodel them or do we tear them down and start over? And there's been a large amount of conversations, including with our downtown partners, which would be the Parks Department, the Main Street Association, the Chamber of Commerce, all of the people that are consistently downtown. I think they get lost in the considerations of what can we do. And I think the very first discussion is that it will cost almost as much, if not more, to remodel the existing building that is already there than to tear it down and start over. They have, if they decide that they want to put back a restroom in that location, that particular bathroom I think was built in the 60s, maybe the 70s, and at that time it was probably a good location for it, but now they're wanting to maybe consider putting the bathrooms closer to the square where there's more activities, different sorts of options, but eliminating the bathrooms that are already there and having those considerations that, the city themselves is just as accountable to having dilapidated and abandoned buildings as anyone else. This is something that all of our partners have said, let's just take the building down and then reimagine that space, whatever that may be. So that's why it's here, and maybe we can do something a little more cost effective.
And that group is looking into other options. And right now, during the day, public restrooms are available at Fairfield Arts and Convention Center. They're also available here at City Hall. So those are all within half block to a block of downtown. So that's the temporary fix for now. Or temporary workaround, I should say.
But say do an art walk or, for example, the Rotary event, we have no public restrooms, so that's a long-term goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was discussion of maybe that there's a private building downtown that would be suitable, that some arrangement with that private business owner or private building owner could be arranged with, I mean, so there's lots of options. It's just figuring out what's the best option.
I would move to direct staff to initiate the process to demolish public restrooms.
Okay, moved by Gandy,
I'll second.
second by Ferguson. Discussion? Questions? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Kness?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Esti?
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously. Okay, next resolution is a consideration of amendment to the personnel policy. And personnel, Elizabeth, do you want to talk about this?
Yes,
We have previously, but let's just run over it again.
Just, of course, this is the resolution for the discussion that we had at our last council meeting regarding updating our personnel policy to allow for an individual who is actively employed by the city and passes away is able to recoup some of those, the sick leave. I can't remember what the percentage is, but it was basically in keeping with the policy that we have for employees who retire. And so we discussed this at our last meeting, like I said, but
Right. If they reach retirement age or the point where they could retire, but they die, then they're going to be eligible for a payout of their sick leave.
if they're
As if-
eligible for payout of their sick leave under our retirement policy, then they're eligible for payout of their sick leave to the exact same percentage under this.
Which I believe was 50%.
50%.
Yeah.
So I would move to approve the resolution, the amendment to the personnel policy.
Okay, moved by Esti,
Second.
second by Gandy. Further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Esti?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Kness?
Yes.
Thank you, that was approved unanimously for that personnel policy amendment. Next is, I'm gonna open a public hearing on nuisance abatement schedule of assessments. Basically, these are unpaid fees, primarily, I think all mowing charges, that will be attached to people's tax bill, basically. So I would like to open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to any of this? These assessments? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and we'll move on to the resolution. The resolution is the consideration of the nuisance abatement schedule of assessments, so.
Move to approve the consideration of nuisance abatement schedule of assessments.
Move by Kness. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Gandy?
Yes.
Kness?
Did that backwards.
Sorry, Kness?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Esti?
Yes.
Great, thank you. That was approved unanimously. For those unpaid mowing fees will show up on your tax bill. And then the next is a public hearing on the matter of stop box and curb stop repair schedule assessments. Very similar, but it's related to your stop box. And it looks like we have one here. And I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to this? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and move it on to the resolution for council to approve. Again, the stop box and curb stop repair schedule assessments.
Move to approve.
Moved by Kness,
Second.
second by Ferguson. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Kness?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Esti?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Thank you, that was approved unanimously. Next up is a resolution, consideration to authorize traffic sign removal and installation. Go ahead, Mel.
So This item and then not the next ordinance, but the following ordinance are related to a request from the school district to allow them to place their turnable stop signs at the intersection of 4th and Fillmore. So this is the one that at the entrance that takes you back to the high school ball fields and is east of the middle school. So the resolution authorizes the school district to place the temporary or the turnable stop signs on Fillmore, and then authorizes the street superintendent to remove the yield sign on 4th and replace it with a stop sign. And I can talk about the ordinance when we get there.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Kness, second by Toohill. Any discussion?
I will mention that the turnable stop signs are owned by the school district. That's what in the referenced resolution 4067 is that those are the responsibility of the school district to maintain and turn and keep up. So,
Okay, great. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Kness?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Esty?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll kind of come back to that after
What,
this.
one quick question. What's on 4th Street heading north as you're coming out of the, well, is there a stop sign there or is there, do you know?
I'll have to check.
It's not an official street, I don't think at that point.
Right.
But
But
I would just recommend putting a stop sign
Yeah.
there too if there's not
No,
one. So-
and we can do that. Actually, I was kind of talking with Joe about maybe stop signs that don't meet our reflectivity requirement. Maybe we can offer it for sale to different parking lots. Like I think of the one coming out of Wolf Eye Clinic. It's very faded, you know, and different businesses of maybe that way we can get some new ones. I think Hy-Vee's is pretty faded as well. But that I will check with the school district
Okay.
on that one.
Alrighty, so let's move on to the next ordinance. It's consideration of amending Title II and Title 14 to clarify and update provisions related to the management and operation of the city's water utility. This is the first reading. Are you going to say something about this?
I can, yes.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and then I'll open the public hearing.
Okay. So I'm going to preface this with Allers wrote this ordinance. I'll do my best to explain it. We discussed it a little bit at the last meeting. In our process of annexing annexing stuff along Libertyville Road, one of the things that Allers identified is making sure that the actions that related to the former Waterworks board or the Waterworks trustees, making sure that the council formally adopts all of those actions. Some of the language that is currently in the code, I'm not going to say is questionable, but Allers would just like to see it a little more solidified and making it very clear that the Waterworks board doesn't exist anymore and that all of the actions related to the Waterworks board have been brought over to the city. The reason is some of the water customers or people who signed water agreements when it was still the water board. Now we're trying to annex them and making sure that they legally have the right to water is some of the reasoning for this. Out of all of the ordinance, most of it is just ratifying decisions that are already part of our procedures. The only thing, I guess, that is new, or I should say it takes our current policy and puts it into code is Section 8. And so probably for the last 8 years, I mean, I know since I got here, but maybe you guys started a little bit before I came, is that anyone who requested water or sewer outside city limits had to sign an agreement that at such time they became adjacent to the city limits that they would be required to annex. The legal term is a pre-annexation agreement, and that has been our policy for a while. to kind of clean up some of these outlying areas. And so then this proposed ordinance puts that into code, requiring anyone outside city limits requesting water service. We'll eventually bring it forward with sewer service as well, but water's kind of the critical issue. But it puts it into city code saying that they have to sign that pre-annexation agreement in order to get water service.
Okay. And with that, I will open up to the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak on this particular ordinance related to water? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. And council, this is the first reading. So do you want to move it to the second reading?
So moved.
Moved by Esty,
Second.
second by Toohill. Any further discussion? Hearing none, hearing none, please call the roll.
Esty?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Kness?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Thank you, that was approved unanimously. The next ordinance, again, is a first reading, consideration of amendment to the stop signs. And again, we're talking again about 4th and Fillmore.
So when we put together the agenda, I referenced the wrong section of the code when I had Rebecca put the agenda together. And so the proposed ordinance is actually is to add a crosswalk on Fillmore. It's still the same issue of adding the stop signs and I guess allowing the students to cross in that area as well as help with the traffic along Fillmore. But there is a public comment there from one of the neighbors that can attest, and I agree with her statements that it is used by students. 4th Street is heavily traveled by walkers, and so the request is to have a crosswalk there.
I can also
And-
attest to that. I've
Yes.
seen kids almost get hit on that corner.
And there is not, so on the northeast corner, there is not sidewalk on that corner, so that's why at this time we're only having a crosswalk on the west side of the intersection, because there's not a curb ramp on that corner for anyone to cross it.
Gotcha. Okay, so with that, I need to open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to this issue on 4th and Fillmore? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and council. Is there a motion to move that to the second reading?
So moved.
Moved by Esty.
Can we make a motion to move it to the third and final?
We would need to suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules?
Yeah.
I guess can I amend my motion to suspend the rules and move it to the third and final reading?
Yeah, I think you can.
Oh,
Would that be okay?
Two
That's
different
a motion,
motions
I'll
that
second
you
it.
suspend.
Suspend the rules, motion to suspend the rules.
Okay, so the motion is to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ferguson. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Esty?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Kness?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
All right, that was approved unanimously to suspend the rules. And the,
Motion to move it to third and final reading?
okay, so the
Second.
motion would be then, again, to move it to the third and final reading, so it's all done safer for the kids right away.
Yeah. And second.
Second by Toohill. Any further discussion?
Thanks for that suggestion.
You can call the roll.
Esty?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Ferguson?
Yes.
Kness?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
All right, that was approved unanimously. Thank you. Next is the third and final reading for the mulch loading fees. We've talked about this, the mulch loading fees, $12.50 and $25. So I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to that issue? Okay, hearing none, close the public hearing. And council, do you want to move this to the third and final reading tonight?
So moved.
Moved by Ferguson,
Second.
second by Gandy.
Is this the third and final reading?
Well, according to this, yes?
Did I skip one? Okay, third and final, yes.
Okay. So,
So,
am I missing something?
Yeah, no, is there any questions? Any further discussion?
what's the motion?
Third and final.
Okay.
establishing the mulch loading fees.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so this is establishing the loading fees. Okay, no other discussion? Call the roll.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Esty,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
And then the resolution, consideration of mulch loading fees. I guess that's where maybe I should talk about the 12, 15, and 25, right?
Move to approve the resolution
Okay.
of the consideration of mulch loading fees.
Moved by Kness,
Second?
second by Ferguson. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Kness,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esty,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, great. That was approved unanimously. Under the mayor's report, a few things. Wanted to let everybody know that, so let me bring it up. On Saturday, well, I thought I had it. The Iowa Motion Picture Association is going to be in Fairfield. They're going to be having an event over at the CoLab. So that's kind of exciting. And on Thursday, I think Bob's probably hosting the Traction Thursday about that event.
Yes,
Do you want
Lee's
to say
gonna
anything
be
about
there.
that, Bob? I think. Do you want to say anything about that
Yeah, well,
real quickly?
Lee is going to be there at Traction Thursdays talking about not only this event, but the larger vision of how we can move some of these issues forward that could help us establish a little bit more of a presence in the film
Yeah.
world.
He's looking at, I think, doing a film festival in the
Film
future.
festival
and so,
and other.
so if you're
other things.
interested in the film idea, you please show up on Thursday and Saturday. Again, I wanted to repeat, I did mention this last week, that the National Guard Band has committed to a July 4th, 10 a.m. concert here. So that will be fun. Just wanted to keep that in everybody's awareness. I wanted you all to dust off your downtown design guidebook that we got from Main Street, because in the next month, hopefully we can fit this into work, to look at this at a work session, and then hopefully we feel comfortable enough to maybe put it as an action item so that we can kind of present something to Main Street that as they're doing things and working with building owners, at least we have a guide. It's not a building code, it's just some basic guidelines. So,
If I may
Yeah.
add, Mayor, I'm ex officio on the main board as a member of the council. They have told us that when the city supports Main Street with guidelines as designed, they're more successful. Building owners downtown are more likely to improve their building facades and so forth when they see the support of the city, not rules, but guidelines. So that
Yes.
it is important.
thank you for clarifying that a little better. I did have a discussion with Brett Farrell, our fire chief and EMA coordinator, and we want to do a public meeting or a taped meeting, again, to talk about preparing for storm season. And so I know in the last few months we've also, it's been around that we've talked a little bit about getting department heads up and interviewing them and getting that out to the public again. So I'm just kind of putting that on your awareness and let you know when those kind of get scheduled. And so let you know probably next meeting when we can schedule some of those. But it really brings awareness to the community, brings our department heads out, explains some of the questions that people don't know, and that hasn't been done for several years, so thought it was timely to do that again. Also, I wanted to mention that last Tuesday, that Bob put together a meeting, and it was in the paper, I don't know if you all saw it, but apparently he was getting questions, I think, from a group here in town.
Well, and quite a few people.
Yeah.
That group and quite a few people were concerned.
Yeah, about, protocols, particularly if ICE were to come to Fairfield, that kind of thing. So that is out on Fairfield Media. I encourage you to listen to it, watch it. I think it'll answer some of your questions. Mr. Morrissey was here explaining, the different warrants, if you will, judicial versus administrative. Nice ringtone. And so one of the things that came out of this meeting, though, was that I just wanted to be clear that this was a meeting that was started by Bob as a council member. It was billed as City of Fairfield, so I want to just make sure that we're all on the same page as how we bill things, how we announce them to the public. I'm asking, and hopefully that everybody's on board with this, is that if we want to invite the whole public, that come to council and be proposed so that everybody gets on the same time frame, and we get it out into the public in a timely manner, so that the whole community knows. And again, clearly stating whether this has been sanctioned by the council, or is this, because I encourage certainly different wards, if they want a meeting that's specific to their ward, or an at-large, if you've got some topic, again, let's communicate with each other. And Shelby and or Rebecca pretty much know what's going on in this council chambers. If you want to have it in this chamber, we need to check with them to make sure it's available. And also, so they know what's going on, because we want to be able to warn, that's probably not the right word, but notify the gals up front that a meeting's going to happen here, so that they know it's okay to let people back, because we don't want to let people back without prior knowledge that there's a meeting here. It just becomes a security issue. So our city administrator is our gatekeeper also for city resources, so please check with him also before you use resources departments at our city attorney, those kinds of things. So everybody's really busy, and we want to make sure that, we're prioritizing things and communicating with everybody. So does anybody have any questions, or am I kind of on the right track there with all of that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Mayor, I think it should be more than an ask from the mayor. Let me provide some context to what happened. The mayor was informed by a council member, me, that there was going to be a meeting at 4 o'clock on Tuesday at City Hall. I found out about it because a constituent forwarded an email to me at 11:37 a.m. that same Tuesday. The body of the email stated, I'll quote, "The City of Fairfield invites all residents to an important community meeting. It promised our city attorney and interim police chief would present and discuss legal standards, and that the event would be live streamed." That was the first time I had heard of such a meeting. To my knowledge, no other member of the council, except the member who created the meeting, nor the mayor, nor the city administrator was ever notified. I think that's a serious failure of protocol when the entire governing body of this city is left in the dark about what is called a city meeting until hours after it begins. Furthermore, the visual of the meeting, I've seen parts of the meeting, was a complete departure from our city charter. We had the city attorney sitting in the mayor's chair and a council member sitting in the city administrator's chair, effectively displacing the administrative oversight required for city business. This took place on the day when the city hall is closed to the public, specifically to allow our staff uninterrupted time to work. The city administrator didn't even know that was happening until the meeting was happening, until shortly before it began. Per our city organization chart, the city attorney reports to and is directed by the full city council, and the chief of police reports to and is directed by the mayor. No individual council member has the authority to commandeer this chamber, rearrange our seats of power, or interrupt staffed operations on a closed day without explicit and formal permission from this body. When these seats are occupied by the wrong people under a City of Fairfield banner, it creates a false impression of official policy and exposes us to liability. I expect the protocols the mayor has listed to be mandatory. They shouldn't be asked, they should be mandatory, and it's set forth in our policy manuals. We are here to govern Fairfield professionally, and that begins with respecting the city charter and the physical seats of authority in this room. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Paul. I think the last thing I want to do is really thank all our staff and our public. The last 3 weeks when we've had a missing person in our community, a lot of hours have gone into searching for that person. Unfortunately, it's not the outcome we all wanted. I personally didn't know this person, but many people spent hours and over again. We had also people come up from Missouri and with their dogs and try to search, and it just shows the heart of our community and what they were trying to do to help another citizen here. So thank you everyone who participated in that. Okay. City attorney report.
Yes.
Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. One more thing. Ralph Hickenbottom, who was part of the city in many ways, the fire department. He was fire chief for a while also. And he was the superintendent at the Evergreen Cemetery. Passed away last week. And there will be a service for him on April.
I didn't catch the date yet.
I think it's April 2nd. And I think it's being done, and I think it's at the Elks. Anyway, good guy.
Yeah.
And a character. And so just wanted to let the public know that, one of our long-time employees has passed and there will be a service for him. So check, I think it's Cranston's, and check the date and the time. Great, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, Mr. Morrissey.
Yes, I've got about 3 or 4 things, and I'm probably gonna scratch one of them. I do want to say something in response to what Paul says about protocol. The original discussion about having that meeting that people were requesting was based on written policy that I had done weeks before. Actually, it was mid-January, and we had a 2-page letter followed by a 3-page policy letter that prompted some requests for that hearing. We also considered having the hearing over at the library, but in the end, somehow we got shifted around here, and there was nothing intended to undermine the status or the integrity of anybody on the council. Trust me on that, I wouldn't do that to you. But beyond that, the interest in the topic was enough to fill the chairs in the room, and I think there's still a continued interest in that, but we will be, to the extent that I'm requested to do something like that, or as far as the way we do that inside our council ranks, probably very careful about protocol going forward. The other part of that also is that from a parliamentary standpoint, we basically don't split hairs on what our committees do generally, but there isn't any reason any committee member can't become a subcommittee looking for information and go out and seek that. The fact that we refine our discussions to this chambers and we do it with notice of committee meetings and that sort of thing is because of a policy we've had that respects the city and the residents ever since 1990. Bob Rasmussen asked to have a letter regarding that. We have about a 3-page letter policy as far as what we do as far as having committee meetings noticed as well as our council meetings. And I think we generally have stayed within the guidelines always as far as people being informed if we've got a meeting where there's going to be a policy decision made, where there's going to be a vote of any kind, we just don't do it without a notice. Where there was one person from council involved and no chance of a quorum vote from a committee level, that probably as far as answered the question about whether there was anything that would have gone outside of that regular notice rule that we've followed for 35 years.
What people saw, John, on television was you sitting in the mayor's chair, city administrator sitting two seats to your left, one a council member to your right, and let me see here, police chief, an interim police chief to your left. The appearance was it was a City of Fairfield event. It was not. It was promoted as a City of Fairfield event. It was not. The perception is that the city was discussing policy. We were not. So it would have been better to give notice to all the council members so they know to respect the city council, because this is in the city council chambers. And if they want to appear, they can. And if they don't want to appear, they don't have to. But they didn't know. We didn't even know. No one in the building knew. The building was closed because this is the day we've decided as a city council, we voted to give staff a day, one day I believe per month or so many times per year, so they can catch up on work without having to interact with the public. They want to be at their best when interacting with the public, but sometimes it needs uninterrupted time to work. That's what this day was. So suddenly you have people showing up at the door whose staff did not know were here for a meeting. And then they populated the entire chamber as if it were an official meeting, which it wasn't. What I'm saying is that, yes, we want to have discussion. Yes, we want to invite citizens to have discussions, but we follow the protocol we have. We have the rules for a reason. The reason is to be transparent, not appear transparent, but to actually be transparent. The reason is to allow council, who are the representatives of our city, to participate if they choose to and to weigh in. Normally, a situation like this, I think what would have happened if you brought it up at some council meeting, we want to have a policy, we want to have a discussion about this particular issue. All right, maybe we refer it to the Public Safety and Transportation Committee. They review it and they decide what's the best way to go forward. Or maybe the city council decides that we have an open community meeting of some type here or somewhere else. What we don't want is the appearance of that, but we're not actually doing that. And that's, I think, the challenge that we have here, and that's how it's being perceived by members of the public. We want our public to know that we are transparent, truly, that we do want their input, absolutely, and that includes all the public, which includes the city council.
Right, and Paul, I don't disagree with what you're saying. It's more of a matter of I don't believe Bob or I or the chief in any way intended to snub the council. I don't think we intended to give the appearance that apparently is a perception by some people who watch that. And as far as the information exchange, hopefully it was beneficial to the people who participated, regardless of if we stubbed our toe as far as protocol.
I don't think it's stubbing your toe. This is important. It's not stubbing your toe. I think the content, while important, the process is very important. And that's what we need to make sure we follow for the benefit of the public. They need to expect that from us, and we need to give that to them.
Right. Well, let's, for purposes of what the topic was at that, let's just say that I've had 4 discussions about our policy regarding what if ICE comes to town. I've done a short letter and a long letter on it, and I've had about 4 different news stories, including things where other counties had circumstances that had 2 sheriffs charged with going outside the state position and the Attorney General of the state's position as far as enforcement of ICE orders if they're not valid. Anyway, so I think our position on how that would be handled here is pretty clear. Hopefully that won't prompt more of that kind of inquiry where we've got, I think, fairly well-written policies, which my perception was the council didn't disagree with on any of the times they were presented, and I think I passed out to all of you at one of the past meetings both of those letters that summarized their policies.
Was there a handout provided at this meeting?
At the meeting
Yeah.
last week,
Yeah, on Tuesday.
Yes, there
yeah,
was.
there was.
Does the council have it?
I believe that you provided that to the council before.
I think the date was January 27th, maybe?
Yeah,
A letter?
It was
Yeah.
a letter.
Yeah.
If the mayor wishes, I'd like to make a statement.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, first of all, to the public and to my colleagues here, this was a rookie error on my part. The initial idea for the meeting was to have it at the library. An organization and many other people had asked for it. And I asked John, and through John, our interim police chief, would you be willing to come to a meeting and simply, answer questions? I mean, the 2-page letter is absolutely explicit. We follow the law. So when we were considering where to have the meeting, it came up that the council chambers would be there. Now, rookie error on my part, because I was speaking to the city attorney, I think I built a big blind spot to, what the optics were. I asked actually Jason if we could sit at that table, because that's where I thought it would be more appropriate. And he said, well, if you want it live streamed, you need to be on microphones, and you should, be in a place where the mic picks you up. So I take 100% responsibility for, creating this and, bringing whatever, whatever breaking of protocol. It certainly wasn't my intention. I thought that I had my bases pretty well covered. I had set the appointment, I had set the time, cleared the time, and I think even John made a reference to it in the last city council meeting, but it probably blew right by everyone. So I want to apologize to you, Paul, personally.
I think you should apologize to the city.
And
to
apologize
the citizens.
to the city and the
I'm only
citizens.
bringing this up on behalf of the city, on behalf of the council. We represent the council. It's very important that they trust us, that the citizens trust us. If we do something that suggests we're not doing things transparently, we're hiding things, or we're favoring some group over another group, that makes us trust us, that makes our trust, the citizens' trust in us less. And it's important that they trust us. We have our challenges. I understand things come up. We have our challenges. We misunderstand things. But the fact is, this does expose the city to liability. We need to make sure it doesn't happen again and just follow the protocol. I think the content is important. This is very much an issue that people want to talk about. Fine, but do it in a way that everyone in the city feels like they're being heard, and some are not. So some do not feel like they're not being heard. That's what I'm saying. We have a protocol, we have rules, we have guidelines. Let's just follow them.
And again, we just want to make sure that we distinguish between the whole city sanctioning a meeting versus an individual council member putting a meeting together because they're getting concerned citizens. Y'all have a right to do that. I encourage that. And, we just want to make it really clear for everybody. And also any public notice that goes out, to make sure that gets out there in a timely manner. I did see one comment about, holy smokes, there's a meeting and it's today. They sure didn't give us very much time. And so, again, it was just a little bit of a pinch for that particular person, I think. But I think there was some confusion of a city meeting versus, a council member meeting. And that's why I just wanted to get it clarified so that we're, again, just on the same page. And we can do it better going forward. And because, there's going to be things that come up from time to time that are maybe of this nature, hopefully not as charged with this particular thing. And we know based off of what Chief Thomas told us in the last, 6 months, because I know I've had conversations with him, and I know our city administrator had conversations with the chief at that time, that, he hardly ever heard from ICE. They hardly ever called, maybe once a year. So, it's unlikely that something will happen here. Hopefully it allayed some fears of people, and And I hope that's the case, but again, it was recorded and it's taped and you can see it out there under the Fairfield Media site. So let's move on from that. I think
Sure.
I think we're all on the same page with that. And what else you got, John?
A couple things going on as far as we've got some new nuisance enforcement that's coming up as far as a couple things that we don't usually get asked to deal with. There is a situation over by the old hospital where there is a area, it's kind of an indentation with some multifamily houses and single-family houses surrounding that with about 15 or 20 cars that has been called to our attention by one of the residents in a single-family home. This probably borders on a junkyard question. We usually don't get those in town, but we've had some out on the edge of town. Now this is more central residential, and we'll be dealing with that. We've also got 3 or 4 larger, what I'm going to call converted apartment structures that are large houses that are old and dilapidated. Those have been called to the attention of Adam Melcher, who's been inspecting things and who is our guy, so to speak, as far as going to these places, alerting the people that are letting them go, so to speak, and he's sort of staging things for the idea that there will be enforcement at these sites. That takes me to a second matter as far as while we're doing these things with these reported nuisances. Adam has talked to me at length about what's available. About a year ago, we did a study session where we had materials. The materials were about 7 different ways we have to deal with nuisances, including some that go all the way to condemnation, 657A taking, a procedure for taking by a tax sale, and the most common one we use is civil infraction filings that have about 7 different powers the court has, including ordering demolition and destruction of properties or major changes in properties. Those things, I expect I'm going to have some additional conversations with Adam Melcher about going forward. We're still in the process of doing things in committee that have to do with job description and so forth as far as that work. But I see what we've already got as far as our formatting for that as different procedures that are outlined, and they do work. They take time in court. They are something that when you give them a courtesy letter from the city attorney's office explaining what is going to happen, sometimes 6 months later you're still showing them where they're at. But people that are involved in the process and are trying to do something with the property do pick up on it. I was heartened in the last 2 weeks. I had 2 calls from Sue Berkey that came to us about helping her son renovate a property up on North B Street, and she wondered if it was possible for the city to be an intermediary, I want to say it, in the middle of something else we've got going on, which is a longer-term 657A process on a property that Mr. Goodman, Dr. Goodman, owns up on North B Street. And she was wondering if there might be a way to approach him about salvage of some of the things in his house, which is most likely to be demolished, but which has actually some leaded glass windows that haven't been broken out by anybody in the neighborhood yet, and she thought those might be a good save for the makeover at the property farther on up North B Street, if there was a way to work that as part of the process we're going through anyway under 657A. I have not been able to reach Mr. Goodman. He's in Florida. We sometimes mess around for a week or two getting him to get back to us. He's as old as I am, and he's just scarce at times. So I'm going to pursue that with the idea that Miss Berkey's son and herself seem to be pretty innovative as far as what they're going to try to do with what their project is. Aside from talking about nuisances, which I tend to do every time that I talk to you, I also want to mention something that's going on. The Des Moines Register is a detail paper, and Sunday's edition talked about the last funnel again, and it also talked about things that are problems if you believe strongly in local rule and home rule. There's a Governor Reynolds bill that is urging adoption of a House File 641, I believe it is, that basically says towns shouldn't be allowed to have any policies that go farther than what the Iowa legislature will allow as far as standards if they come into play about diversity, equity, and inclusion. In other words, the DEI stuff from Washington, D.C. That's being handed down by executive order. It's not repealed by Congress. I have not advised this council to do anything about the policies that are part of the resolutions you adopt every year to stay qualified for your federal funding, your loans, and your things that you do through your public finance attorneys. And I won't advise you to do that unless Congress is repealing things instead of the president. There's over 150 illegal executive orders out there right now, and advising you order by order as far as whether it's going to be sustained or not long term. I don't know the answer to some of these. It's political football, but it's not something right now that I think is healthy for the state of municipal home rule. So I'm encouraging you, our representative and senator was here at the legislative breakfast on Saturday. I'm encouraging you to let them know that you're not sure that this legislation that further restricts city home rule is necessary or a good idea or well-founded as far as where it's coming from. So I'm just going to, that's probably enough said about that, but we have, I think, very carefully thought through policies from this body. We have been, I think, as open about how we try to treat people in the community fairly. Some of this has to do with things that have to do with gender identity. It has to do with things that are related to what we're going to recognize going forward. And it's, you know, we'll have to see what the legislature adopts. Right now, it's an issue coming out of the funnel, and we'll see how the debate goes on that. But I want you to be aware of it. I want you to know that it'll be a further restriction on us if that passes. So, enough said.
Yeah, John, not that I'm really worried about that either, and I'm not really so worried about federal stuff, but in this particular case, is there any lawsuits related to that executive order at the federal level?
There have been some, yes.
Has there? Yeah. Any rulings on any of it?
Well, they tried to turn it into a play on parts of the law that deal with same-sex marriage. So far, it hasn't made it to a level of Supremes or the higher appellate courts.
Yeah.
So some of the lower courts have said, well, wait a minute, gender identity and so forth, most state constitutions allowed that until recently and weren't opposed to it. I think what the intent in the legislation that the governor's advocating is, I would characterize it as they don't want none of those rainbow cities in state of Iowa. And I think that's probably a little bit quaint way of putting it, but as far as where it is as far as federal standards and so forth, they have not been repealed by Congress, and the policies aren't going to change back here until there's something that I can point at as a reason why we would disqualify ourselves if we stick to our guns on what we have for policies right now.
Thank you. I have one other question in a different topic related back to nuisances. Is it possible, I'm just wondering if the council can keep abreast, and I don't know how to do this in the most appropriate way, of where things are at with some of these nuisances, like on a quarterly basis. It seems like some of them just have drug on and on. You know, all of a sudden it's a year later or it's a year later and something's still not done.
Right.
Some of them are small, some of them are big things, you know.
Well, let's take somebody like Miss Berkey and her son. We agreed in December that if she got a closing done in January, well, she got it done in February, but that we'd let her proceed with a plan she showed us that was going to take 12 months to remake a nuisance property. And so that, from the standpoint of our magistrate overseeing that, he's rescheduling that for review hearings every 2 or 3 months. And that's probably about as good as it's going to get while they're proceeding with their work. Some of these other things, like Mr. Goodman, has stalled us about every way possible. His case isn't just old, it's ancient.
Right.
It goes all the way back to 2010. He's been in front of you in 12, 13,
Oh, yeah.
15, and 17.
Oh, I think it's even before that, John.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
He's had it fixed for a while,
Right.
almost. There were about 10 things left on a list of about 22 or something
Yeah.
like that. And he was making progress, but that's all gone again.
Yeah, and maybe it's an internal report. It just seems like things get stuck and we don't, and we're just not informed enough. And maybe we don't need to know. I don't know.
Well,
So just something to think about as we move forward with a code enforcement and planning and zoning and,
right, I think the code enforcement, they have computerized system as far as things that are, I guess, in the rack, so to speak. Those, as far as the way they were kept by Weston, it's a good enough system, wouldn't you say, Melanie, that it's got information in it for somebody to succeed and pick up the pieces and know where to go next each time. But as far as how we make it work faster, we're kind of bound by the 20 or 30-day notice requirements on some of these things that we have hearings on, and then the extension for time to work on them is usually twice that long, at least each time. So,
Melanie, do you have a comment? You look like you have a comment. We can take that offline.
Watch it.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Comment. It seems to me that we're short-staffed, and because of that, this kind of thing probably gets less attention than it needs to be.
But I think even informally, I'm agreeing with your suggestion that we ought to have at least an informal quarterly report. And this junkyard situation, I know about it because, Mike Schill is wanting to build a triplex within sightline of a lot of junk cars. And so it seems to me that whatever methodology we use to keep our attention on this is something that I would be more than happy to support.
Yeah, okay. Well, again, I guess we can just have more discussions on it, so. Is that all from you, John? Did we hit all your bullet points?
Yeah, I think, I have other
Okay.
cases I could tell you more of the.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to
Same
committee and
thing.
board reports. Personnel?
Well, this is very appropriate, I guess, to the conversation we're having. The Personnel Committee met today. We had 2 items, well, really just one item that we were discussing. I guess 2 sub-items. We were talking about job descriptions for 2 positions. One is a community service officer, and then one is a planning and zoning director. The community service officer would basically be a civilian officer working under the Fairfield Police Department, however. They would be primarily concerned with ticketing and some property maintenance issues. The planning and zoning director would be focusing on some of those larger issues, and maybe would have the ability or would be going to court, maybe with John or without John, for status conferences if possible. Maybe that would be the appropriate position to report on properties. And while these positions may change in scope slightly, the Personnel Committee would recommend that the council accept the job descriptions and then allow staff to post them both, understanding the planning and zoning director would probably not begin until fiscal year 26. However, the community service officer position could be filled and could start right away. So they would be doing things with dogs. What else do we talk about? Mowing, parking, things of that nature. And so I think that this would go far in helping address some of those issues. And hopefully we will at some point have building codes that the planning and zoning director can also enforce. So I would make that motion that we accept these job descriptions and allow the staff to post them both. But if you have any questions about them.
I would second it, but is there a copy of the job descriptions for?
I didn't ask that it be attached, and so that's my fault. That probably would have been helpful.
Should we put it on the next agenda? How about
Sure.
we do that?
Okay.
You want to amend your motion to put that on the agenda next time?
Yeah, I do. I will. I'm going to amend my motion to place this on the agenda for our next meeting so that everyone has the opportunity to review these job descriptions and do these and get some additional information that I may have overlooked.
There's a few corrections from today's meeting.
That's right. So Melanie can get back to work and get it right this time, Melanie.
Okay, so I believe the motion is to
Don't take that
put the job
abuse.
descriptions, you want to read it?
Yeah,
That
I
way?
have the job descriptions on the next meeting to review, so council can direct post.
Okay, great. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Hill. Any further discussion on that? Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign? Okay, great. That will get posted. Next thing, before we get to the administrative report, I thought of one more thing, and that is this Friday, last Friday of every month, I usually do community dialogues with Berndt. And this Friday, I'm gonna be having a discussion with a gal named Courtney Hart. And she's going to be talking about smoking and vaping and the harmful effects of that and what resources are available in Jefferson County to help you quit. So that should be an interesting conversation. On Wednesdays after our council meeting, we're doing, a wrap up with Jason. Doug's been filling in for me since the beginning of the year, I think. And, but if any council members want to do it, raise your hand, let me or Doug know, you know, because we want the community to see y'all. And, so if you're interested in doing that, we're there, you know, you're doing what, about 30 minutes?
Approximately.
Yeah, about 30 minutes, so it doesn't take too much of your time. That's on a Wednesday afternoon at what time?
2:45 to 3 o'clock.
Okay, great. Okay, that's all I have. I just wanted to bring that up too. Administrator reports, project updates.
Yeah, there were, as far as projects, I felt like there was not a lot to update on, and I was kind of looking through it going, gosh, what did I do this last month that I don't have a lot of project updates? But the last week of February, I attended the ICS 400 class, which is the last National Incident Management Systems, or NIMS course to take as upper city management. I will be working towards the Public Information Officer training, and I'll have that in April for a few days there. So that was the last week of February, and then the first 2 weeks of March were 110% on grant applications. We got a full 5 days notice for the Miller Meeks Community project funding grant application, but we're excited. We were excited to get that one turned in. It was funding specific towards emergency operation centers, which is part of the fire station, I don't know. I guess I'm always hopeful about our grant applications, but at least that one, you know, we have. I was able to provide some really good information. We got a letter of support from the state office as well as the district or the Jefferson County EMA. But in total, in the first 2 weeks of March, applied for a total of $912,000 worth of grants. So that was why I don't have a lot of project information to update on. Regarding the fire station, something I specifically forgot to mention, that good progress is being made. We're having weekly progress meetings. But now that we are out of a majority of the cold weather, there will be one remaining change order coming forward related to the initial delays in the project. One of the reasons we were waiting through the winter to bring this to council is there were delays. Some of the cost is related to Christner being there and not able to perform work, but we really didn't have a full idea on how that's going to impact their schedule until we knew, you know, were they going to have to temporarily heat the building? How much work were they going to be missing out on because winter was awful? Well, luckily, winter was not that bad, and so we don't see a huge increase in that initial change order because of that delay. But so there is an additional change order that's going to be coming maybe in the next month. We're finalizing that, getting all those last costs, and the reason why we are wanting to bring it is we are getting close to what the contract says is the completion date of the fire station. But obviously we had several weeks of delay early on in the project, and so we want to extend that contract completion time for Christner because of issues no fault of their own. And so yeah, a lot of between the NIMS training and the fire station project, that's been where most of my time has been since the last council meeting. So not a lot of updates on the rest of the projects.
Well, thank you for putting all that effort in on those grants. I know Miller Meeks is every year, it's like you have 5 days to get this in. And by the way, I never did get a call from her that day, so I don't know. I was really hoping to, give her some more information, and but I didn't get a call. But we got everything in on time for that, and we, just keeping our fingers crossed. And they've been communicative, her office with us, and so I don't know. I kind of take that as a good sign, but we'll see.
The missing person is an unfortunate situation, but city staff did send 9 people on Friday to help with a large-scale search that occurred on Friday. But with that, I was able to take some pictures of the meeting room and the law center, and just really indicating the lack of space that's there. You've got almost 30, maybe 40 people crammed in that room. The internet wasn't working. There was one TV on the wall that everyone was kind of trying to look at maps. And so it's an unfortunate situation, but however, it provided some good pictures for us to submit or to submit for future applications related to the need of a larger space for an emergency operations center.
And we've had several occasions in these last few years
Yeah.
of multi-agency situations where we need the space
Yeah.
and the technology.
Yep. And also during those 2 weeks, KTVO wanted to do a story on the fire station, so it was also a good opportunity to bring in the grant, to mention that we had some grant applications going in. And yeah, exactly the reason that there has been a need for it in the last few years. So.
Awesome. City Administrator report?
I want to say that you're extremely blessed to have employees like we have. Melanie has spent a couple of weeks working on these grants and trying to fight for more money, and sometimes she closes her door and you just have to let her be and be very, very careful if you knock.
That's right.
And but on top of all the other things that we have to shift in directions, and I appreciate that very much, that I don't ever have to worry about people coming to work. And Rebecca, I mean, those are the two that I interact with on a daily basis, but everybody in City Hall, everybody out in the field, they're always doing something, and they will change direction at a moment's notice, and I appreciate that. I want to, again, circle back with the late fees. I actually had another late fee, or this is a delinquent fee. And when people ask us to waive late fees or delinquent fees, I don't have the authority, and I can tell them that all day long, and you are always the point of appeal. The reason why those things are in place is because our resources, our people up front, are now focused on your utility bill. And once that system sends out a work order, I've got city resources outside that go to your house, and they start looking at they're looking at your stop box, they're reading your meters. People by the hour, and trucks with gas in them go and start looking at these things. And so you have to pay for those resources. That's why those fees are there. If the council elects to waive these fees, that is up to you, but that's why they're in place, and I can't change those. And I will tell you that sometimes, and this particular person was relatively nice, but they have the fees in place and they are not nice to our employees. And that's a shame that they're just doing their jobs and they will not waiver. These are our rules and we follow them, as the discussion kind of ramped up earlier this evening. I also want to say that the public budget presentation, I am recommending that it be hosted in this room. And it helps us with scheduling conflicts that that the convention center may have. Also, Jason's equipment is already here. There's already a seat for the council. I don't believe that he will be able to have. We intend to have a camera mounted up there eventually, yes, but I don't know if that'll be ready by then. But we're asking that for the council if we can host it on Thursday, April 23rd at 8:30 to noon in this room. The podium will be turned around facing the public, and we will actually, with the amount of people that usually come, we'll actually have the department heads cycle in, give their presentation to the public. Jason will be able to live stream it. We'll be able to use all of the screens. Everything will be here, so it should be relatively convenient. And we'll see how it goes. And that way it also saves the city some money because we always have to pay for the reservation at the convention center. And we did have hopefully our last snowstorm. We got a little after this, but we actually had this bizarre blizzard that came in on March 20th that we all survived. And, street crews and parks crews were exceptional. And then lastly, we've been communicating with the DNR in regards to not only Walton Lake, but also the other lakes that we have. We now have Des Moines' attention, and they're wanting to start talking about, watershed management and lake restorations. I explained to them that I never in my tenure ever want to lower water levels in any of those lakes again, but we will have to address those at one point in time. And I think there'll be further discussions with those. And I sit for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Reinert? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Toohill,
Second.
second by Esty. Sorry, Bobby, didn't get in quick
That's
enough.
okay, didn't get in fast enough.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council, for your attention tonight. Meeting adjourned.